Let's talk with Ivory now, who is on the line. Ivory, thanks for joining us on the Mother of All Talk shows. I metaphorically take my hat off to you. You're a very brave and capable woman and doing a great job. But for those that didn't, as I have, see what you did and know why you did it, kindly bring this global audience up to speed. What happened?
Well, thank you so much for the kind words, George. It's good to be on with you. It was last summer that I was scheduled to go live on location for Fox, and instead I just told the audience that Fox has been muzzling me to keep certain information from them, and that I would be releasing some tapes of what goes on behind the scenes at Fox because it applies to the viewers. I had discovered how corrupt they were starting 10 months prior to that, and I had been trying to figure out how to leave this corrupt company because it didn't sit with my conscience to have them control the narrative and force me to be a tool of the narrative. And so I finally realized that the easiest way to get away from them was just to call out the truth about them live on air. So that's what I did.
Well, you did it with such aplomb and courage that if there was a Nobel Prize for these kind of things, you'd be definitely in the running for it. How did they react? How long did you get on air before they pulled the plug on you?
They actually didn't pull the plug the entire time. I was shocked. I'm not sure if the control room just didn't know what to do or wasn't paying attention, but I called them out, and then I continued to go along with what I was reporting on the ground there. And then I tossed to some recorded sound bites, and then it came back to me, and I was shocked that the control room sent it back to me. Maybe they were on my side. Maybe they were sick of the corruption too and said, let's put it back on Ivory. But it took like an hour to finally get called by my boss and ask what was going on.
That's amazing. Now, many of us have watched the wonderful movie about Fox News, and we're familiar with the Himalaya of sexual allegations against top people at the channel. Fox is not alone in that, of course. That's, as the Me Too thing showed, common throughout the entertainment industry in the United States and no doubt elsewhere too. But that's not what you were calling out, was it? You were calling out corruption in general.
Right. I had never been victim to the sexual stuff, thankfully, but I found myself being forced by my bosses to parrot a certain narrative that was contrary to what I was collecting on the ground. And it stuck out to me that was happening in summer of 2020, most notably when I was sent to cover a COVID ward, and Fox sent me there. They assigned me to that. I didn't pick that doctor or that ward. I wasn't trying to create my own narrative, but Fox thought that this unit that what this doctor was doing would comply with their narrative, the international narrative. And it did not. In fact, this doctor, his death rate at the hospital was remarkably lower. At the same time, he was using drugs that the narrative said were bad for you, that didn't work, were bad for you. And the fact that I allowed his recipe of what he was using to get out to the viewers, it all hell broke loose in my newsroom, and Fox came for my throat, threatened to fire me, made up lies about me, all because I allowed what this doctor was using that worked, apparently. His death rate was like a third or a quarter the rate of other hospitals. So that's when I realized, wow, all I did is what I've always done, go out on the scene, collect what's really happening, and let the viewers know. But this time, I'm not allowed to do that. And then I just continued to see more and more of that corruption when it came to the narrative about the election, when it came to the narrative about vaccines. And I realized I've got to get out of this. I can't be a tool of their narrative anymore. And I just need the viewers to know how much the on-air talent is controlled.
Yeah, and since when it's got worse, of course. We've now moved into superdrive. This is turbocharged. If you have the temerity to tell the truth as you see it, or to expose facts that are not easily fittable within the prevailing orthodoxy, you'll simply be closed down. I mean, even the President of the United States was put off social media. So we have a situation now where most people think, I think they do, still think, that we have a free press. You've even got a constitutional amendment that supposedly guarantees it. But in truth, it's never been less free.
100%. It's incredibly concerning what we've seen happen to our free press, especially since the pandemic hit. But yeah, our First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says Congress shall make no law that limits the free speech. But what we're seeing is people go around the lawmaking. And, what we have is an oligarchy of these big media corporations that are collaborating to shut down our speech anyways. And fortunately, you can still create your own news outlet away from those corporations, which I've now done. I now went independent and am able to cover some of the things that the corporate news won't touch, some of the things that YouTube and Facebook will censor out. But it's incredibly difficult to have a successful media business with all of the censorship surrounding. A lot of people, they get their news, they push their news out on places like Facebook. It's like, hey, I just wrote this article, post the link on Facebook. An independent journalist can't do that anymore because Facebook will delete that link if it goes against the narrative. So we're in a strange, very concerning time. In fact, I created an uncensorable website, ivoryhecker.com, on its own server. And that server has been victim of countless attacks trying to destroy the server, which hosts not only my independent journalism site, but several other independent journalists. So something is happening where independent journalism is being come after from all different sides. And one of the most alarming things about this is the silence of the corporate media journalists, these people who went to journalism school, who thought, we all thought that they were in it for the right reasons, that they were in it for the free speech, free press, which fortifies the freedom of the people. And suddenly we're seeing free speech under assault from every direction, and these people are absolutely silent and complicit. It's quite chilling.
Well, yeah, the discovery is that they were not in it for the reasons they claimed to be in it. It was, in Sting's famous words, it's money for nothing and your chicks for free. That's why they were in the media. And as long as that keeps coming, then the truth can go hang itself. A classic example, and I know that you've written about this, is Julian Assange, the world-famous political prisoner in London, in a dungeon, facing 175 years in an American dungeon if he is deported. And all he did was uncover uncomfortable truths. And the criminals on whom he reported have made it a crime to report on their crimes. And so you're attacked from the point of view of commercial point of view, the commercial front, but you're also attacked in extremis if your work is successful enough with the threat of actual criminalization. and imprisonment.
It's really disheartening to see. And you know, the more Americans become aware of Julian Assange's case and realize that, oh, that's our government, that we always thought our government loved freedom. Why is our government after Julian Assange like this? It's pretty concerning. But you know, I think that they're making an example of him to scare away other people from uncovering government secrets. And I think a lot of these media corporations are so controlled. They're so in lockstep together with their narratives and things because they are afraid of government or any special interests coming after them or turning away from them. I know that one of the first concerning things for me with Fox was when we saw social media, Facebook, Twitter, begin to censor people at a highly escalated rate in 2020. I called it right out. This is something China has been doing to its people for a long time to control the press. And I said, hey, our freedom of speech is looking a whole lot more like China. Out of nowhere, I publicly called it out, summer of 2020, and Fox came after me. I had multiple HR calls telling me what a huge mistake I had made to pick a side on this censorship debate. And I said, excuse me, the one thing the press should always be biased about is free speech. If we are a free press, we can't be a free press without having free speech. So we need to stand up for this. I was dumbfounded that Fox took the side of silence. And if you don't stay silent on censorship, you are disciplined and you may get fired. That's part of why I left Fox as well.
We can't have democracy if we don't have free speech. You might as well just dispense with democracy. If you cannot have the free play of ideas, the clash of perspectives, if you cannot be free to argue your point of view, then you don't have a democracy. You're just a different kind of dictatorship.
Exactly. And when it comes to collecting facts as journalists, which was supposed to be my job back then, if you live in a society that supports censorship, then there will be dark areas where the free press is not allowed to go. You're not allowed to go discover what might be over here because this is the censored area. And therefore, it's not a free press. We can't, because we can't truly get to the truth if we don't see the whole field of what's really going on. So the fact that Fox turned that way, and amongst Americans thought that Fox was the one outlet that was different. They knew how pretty corrupt the rest of our media was, anti-freedom the rest of our media was. They thought that Fox was different. Fox has started to show its concerning colors in these past few years, and that's why I left. That's why Lara Logan just parted ways with Fox in December. It's concerning what's happening.
Tell us again, please, how people can follow you and see what you're producing.
Yeah, I actually have a YouTube channel. You can search Ivory Hecker on YouTube for my news, as well as ivoryhecker.com or watch.ivoryhecker.com. That's my uncensored video website where I cover everything that YouTube doesn't allow.
Fantastic. You're a star. Thanks for joining us.